Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are talking about my worst books of 2025. So in today's video, we are actually going to be talking about my worst books as well as all of my DNFs. And we are going to start with those DNFs. I have quite a few here. I ended up reading a total of 179 books in the year of 2025, but 15 of those were DNFs. One thing I will say for this is that I have been trying to DNF more. Like, I don't want to be reading books that I don't agree with or don't agree with me. And so I'm glad that I have DNF'd more than normal. Like, I feel like this is one of my highest DNF years. Because of that, I actually don't have very many worst books to talk about. So we're going to jump into the DNFs first. Like I said, we are going to start in order of the year because I don't really have like this is a worse DNF than this one. So we're gonna start with like January, move our way down. I did have like 6 DNFs in January. Like, I had a lot of things last January that I was not agreeing with. So let's jump right on in. The first DNF that I have here is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is a DNF where I just could not get through it. First of all, it's supposed to be like this like time travel body switching mystery, which sounds super intriguing, but it took forever to get into that actual aspect. It was so boring. And then we had some really blatantly horrible fat phobia where one character is like so fat that his fingers could barely bend and he couldn't stand up out of the bathtub by himself. And I noped out so hard at that. Like, that was not for me. I have been interested and intrigued by other Stuart Turton titles, so we'll see, because that put a bad taste in my mouth. The next DNF that I have here is And Another Thing by Eoin Colfer. This is supposed to be the continuation of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, which I read in 2024. So I was gonna say last year, the year before that, in 2024. Did it as a buddy read. There was like 4 of us that were going through and reading the entire Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. The best book of that whole series was book number 1, and then it just sort of got nonsensical, and I did not 100% enjoy my time with those books. I decided to try this book because Eoin Colfer is a different writer than Douglas Adams, and I have liked other things by Eoin Colfer, like the Artemis Fowl series, but as I was reading this, I realized I just did not care. Because it sort of takes place after everything else happened in the first 5 books or whatever, and I just really did not care to read more. I got like almost 100 pages in and I was like, you know what? No. The next book that I DNF'd is The Broposal by Sonora Reyes. This is a book that I had as an e-arc and I DNF'd because I really just don't think it was for me. This is supposed to be about like 2 roommates who end up in a proposal situation because one character is going to like lose his green card or something like that. However, when you start the book, one of the characters is already in a relationship, and I do not like the whole aspect of like, I know you're in a relationship, but obviously they can't be better for you than me sort of situation. I just did not like the setup for this one. I feel like if that would have not happened, I probably would have continued. So this was 100%, like I said, a me thing, but I just could not do that one. The next one I have here is The Guinevere Deception by Kiersten White. This is just because it wasn't for me anymore. I bought this book back when I was obsessed with King Arthur things, and I started this for like a vlog where I was trying to just like read things or get rid of them, and it got to a point where I was like, I was semi-intrigued but not enough to actually keep going because it's very like historical and that's just not my thing anymore. So this was again a me problem. The next one, very, very similar, same sort of vlog, Stars Hide Your Fires by Jessica Mary Best. This was a debut sci-fi, almost murder mystery sort of thing. This character goes in for a heist. People don't know that she's going in for a heist, but then while she's there, like the king is murdered and she could be the suspect. But I just, again, did not care enough to continue. If I was going to finish this book, it probably would have been a 3-star, and the point of the vlog I was doing it in was to read it and enjoy it and if I wasn't 100% sold on it, to get rid of it, and so that's what I did. The next one that I have here is Lies and Lullabies by Serena Bowen. It's the first book in the Hush Note series, which all of the books are like interconnected standalones. Each book follows a different couple in this band, and they're all by different authors. This one I DNF'd because of the whole like setup of the main couple of the story. Basically they had met previously a while ago, a few years ago I want to say, and went their separate ways. And then when they come back, the guy realizes that this girl that he had slept with had a child, and it was his, and he had no idea. The thing is, they do the sort of like back and forth between like, here's a little bit of present day, here's the past. And in the past, the reason they slept together was because she had a previous sexual assault, rape sort of situation, and he was obsessed with her. This guy, our main character, but like, so in his head, he's like, oh, she's so sexy, she's so hot, I want to do things to her. In her mind, he is just a really, really good friend. And so she decides that he is the only man that she feels comfortable with. And so she wants to have sex with him to get over her sexual assault. And I just did not like the setup of that, and especially his thoughts prior to that. And so because of that, I DNF'd. The next book I have here is Trapped in Wonderland by Danny Hoots. This was 100% the writing style for me. I've read a different book by Danny Hoots that I was okay with, and this one I just thought was very sort of rambly, ADHD, juvenile sort of writing style. Like, we're like, hi, my name is Alice and I go to this school and this is our mascot, Rawr! And it was so rambly that I just could not get through like a couple chapters of this. Like, it was just not my style. I do have other books that I want to try by Danny Hoots. I'm going to see about ones that are maybe a little bit more recently published. I think she has like a sci-fi western one that I'm really intrigued by, but this one did not work for me. Then I also have Makeup Breakup by Lily Manon. This one is by Sanjay Manon. This is like her adult romance, and this is about like an enemies to lovers type of situation, but in my opinion, they have legitimate reasons for her to hate him. And so I could not see a way for her to actually fall in love with him in this romance. Basically, they have two competing like apps. Hers is to make people like fall in love, and his was to break people up. And he stole her idea of like how to set things up and then became more famous for it, and now they're like in the same work building. I do not see a way for them to make up with the way that he acts towards her, and I did not care enough to figure out how they were going to do that. My next DNF was Model Home by Rivers Solomon. This was another one that was just not for me. I've read a few different Rivers Solomon, some I loved, some I didn't, and this one I DNF'd because it is more in the horror vein, but it got very sexually graphic in a way that I did not appreciate personally, because it wasn't like, let's have sex because we're in love or because I want to feel good. It was like in a negative vein, and I just did not want that. The next DNF I have here is The Mirage by Matt Ruff. This I got in a blind date with the book. It was supposed to be like an alternate reality sort of situation, which I guess, okay, sort of. However, the alternate reality situation is, what if 9/11 didn't happen to us in the United States, but it happened in the Middle East, and it flips everything on its head. It felt very politically insensitive, very Islamophobic and misogynistic, and I hated it, and I DNF'd. The next one I DNF'd is The Entropy Effect by Vonda and McIntyre. This is a Star Trek novel, which did not fit the characters. I just really did not like the characterization of like Kirk or Spock or anything like that, and I did not want to continue. Basically, the summary didn't really happen in the part of the book that I was reading. It got to a point where I was like 70 something pages in, and we were just like nowhere near what the summary was supposed to be, and so I couldn't care enough to continue. The next DNF that I have here is A World Without Princes by Soman Chanani. This is the second book in the School for Good and Evil series, which I really liked the first book. I think I gave it like a 4-star. That one was about two girls who go to the School for Good and Evil, and the one who thinks she is the best ever, she's very like blonde and princessy, goes to the school for evil, and the other girl, who's a little bit witchy, a little bit of a social outcast, ends up in the school for good. And I loved the play on that dynamic. The second book is basically the end of book 1 and the consequences of that, but it ends up being consequences of boys versus girls, and it felt very misogynistic and sort of taking apart what the good stuff was and the friendship and stuff was in book 1 and saying that doesn't matter anymore. And I hated what I read. I read over 100 pages of it and decided, you know what? No, I'm done with the series. I don't care what the author's going to try and tell me about it, because the way that all the characters were behaving was just not appropriate, in my opinion. Then my next DNF was Toto by A.J. Hackwith. This was a retelling of The Wizard of Oz. I actually read this for a Wicked vlog, so near the middle of November, I want to say. And this is supposed to be Wizard of Oz told through Toto's perspective. And it is darker than the original Wizard of Oz, but it's told through Toto's perspective. And I did not like the way that the voice was. He kept saying that I'm a bad dog, I'm gonna do this because I'm a bad dog. And then he would talk about like Russian literature and like things that I'm just like, would we realistically expect a dog to know this kind of stuff? And it was like things talking about misogyny and things talking about racism and things like that, which is fine. I appreciate certain storylines, you know, talking about the real world and problems that we have in the real world, but the way that they were pushing it in with the dog talking about it in The Wizard of Oz, I'm just like, I couldn't. It was too much over the top, hitting you over the head with the messages, and with the dog constantly talking about how he's a bad boy, like, no. The next one that I DNF'd was Tin by Amber R. Duell and Candace Robinson. This was another Wizard of Oz one. This was more dark fantasy romance where Dorothy goes back to Oz and she is eventually going to have a romance with the Tin Man. My bigger issue with this is like he's been cursed to like have a, what did they call it? Like a metal heart. I don't know. It was something different, a rock heart, something like that. Where, so this is the same Tin Man she met in the original Wizard of Oz. And she was like maybe 11 and she's grown up. This guy has known her from when she was a kid to now. And as soon as she comes back, and he's not supposed to be able to feel any emotions whatsoever, all he wants to do is get in her pants. All he wants to talk about is her boobs. And I'm just like, no. They even went to like a brothel area. For what reason? Who knows? It was too much of that, like trying to make it sexy, in my opinion. And especially with the like, this isn't like a reimagining of The Wizard of Oz where it only happens because she's an adult. No, this is supposed to be a sequel almost. She came as a kid. She knew these people as a kid. And now that she's barely like 21, everybody's like, ooh, no. And then the last one that I DNF'd in 2025 was Running with Lions by Julian Winters. This is a book that is 100% a me thing. I bought this years ago because it was contemporary LGBTQ. It is sports, which is part of the reason I DNF'd, but it was one of those things where it was like back when you didn't have as much variety of LGBTQ stories, especially in the young adult sphere, as we do now. Like we have so much variety, so much genre fiction, things like that. I put it off too long. I ended up not really liking this one so much because young adult and contemporary and sports. Like I feel like this was something that maybe if I was younger, maybe if I read it when I should have read it the first time, I would have appreciated. Now I'm just sort of aged out and I know it's 100% a me thing, not the book, me. And so those were my DNFs. Again, quite a few DNFs, I think my most DNFs ever, but because of that, I actually only have 4 books that I rated under 3 stars this year, which is great, which means my actual like, not hate reading, I don't like hate read necessarily, but my actual experience reading, it wasn't too crazy. So I'm just gonna be going through these and letting you know what I felt about them. I did sort of put them in an order of like least hated to most hated, which again, they're not necessarily hated per se. But the one that I have right here at spot number 4 is Star-Crossed Volume 3 by Junko. So I read the entire 4-volume manga series this year. I had previously read the first 2, and then I finished it in 2025. I did not like Volume 3 the most out of all of them. Every other one I think I gave around a 3, like it was fine. This follows a like guy from a boy band and a girl who's like his biggest fan, and at a concert a stage light starts to fall and she pushes him out of the way and tries to save him. The thing is, they both end up dying. They were not supposed to die, so God, or whoever you want it to be in the story, brings them back to life, but they now have this problem where sometimes they switch bodies. Interesting, right? Interesting concept. This one does have a little bit of like questionable consent stuff because of that. A little bit too much of like, oh my gosh, I'm in a girl's body or a boy's body, let me take a bath, but like, ooh, I don't know if I should touch the body or if they should touch the body, like very weird situations. Volume 3 was my least favorite though, because there is a sort of side plot of like a crush between a couple other boys in the band together, which, okay, cool. But there is a very non-consensual like kiss while one of the guys is sleeping, and I did not like that. So I think I gave this one like a 2.5. The next one that I did not like was Haru Spring by Joe Latham. So this is a comic graphic novel thing, and I just did not understand like a single thing that was happening here. I did give it a 2-star, which is like one of my lowest things besides DNFing for hate reasons, and yes, I did give some of my DNFs 1 stars. Otherwise, usually I don't rate them. This is about this like small bird and his friend who is like a pig, and it's supposed to be like, oh, this bird has a prophecy of this magical quest, but like his mom is a ghost, and a lot of the stuff that happened here, like I just did not understand how to get from point A to point B to point C to point D. There was just like so much stuff trying to be shoved into it, and none of it really felt logical to me. I didn't understand the stakes. I didn't really understand the writing and dialogue style in the comic. Like everything was just very confusing. Like I just did not personally get it. So this again could be more me than the story, but I did not like it. My next one that I did not like is Rainbow Days Volume 1 by Minami Mizuno. So this is a manga that I thought I was going to read more than just Volume 1. But basically it follows these like 4 boys in a high school and like their friendships and things like that. But the way that it's pitched on the back of the book and the actual stuff that you get in the story doesn't really match for me, and like in a very negative way. So basically it talks about 4 different boys. There is Natsuki, who is a dreamer who longs for love, Tomoya, a self-centered playboy, Keiichi, a winsome guy with a hidden saucy streak, and Tsuyoshi, a socially awkward nerd. So socially awkward nerd, pretty much. The dreamer who longs for love, yes, sort of, but I didn't really like him as a character. He's very like pitiful and one of those like nice guys. Like that's just what it sort of felt like, and I didn't really like him as a character, but like he wasn't my biggest issue. We did have the self-centered playboy who at the beginning of the book has like 5 girlfriends and none of them know about each other. So like it's not really that he's a self-centered playboy. He's like cheating on all these girls, and all these boys just like everything that they all do is like, oh yeah, they do that. Okay. And then the last one, the one that I really didn't like, is the winsome guy with a hidden saucy streak. No. Within like 5 pages of the book, we find out what the hidden saucy streak is. He likes BDSM. And he likes to talk about that kind of stuff without consent from anybody else. And I hated it. So I did finish it because it was a manga. I shouldn't have. I should have DNF'd it. But I did not like it. I did not appreciate the way that the summary spins it, because no, not good. I gave it 2 stars. And then the last one that I have here, I actually gave 2.5 stars, but I'm a little bit more disappointed in this one, so I'm gonna say it's my worst book, especially since it actually was a book and not a manga, comic, or graphic novel. And that's gonna be the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association by Caitlin Rosakis. I gave this 2.5 stars. I really, really wanted to like this one. It sounded like something I was going to like. I did not. So basically this follows our main character of Vivian, who has a kindergartner, and her kindergartner gets bitten by a werewolf and is now a werewolf, and they now have to deal with kindergarten in this like magic school. They've moved to this like magical town and things like that, and she's trying to navigate. The thing is, I was expecting cozy fantasy, parents navigating magical school with a kindergartner, but instead we have parental bullies and people that want her child to fail, people that want her to fail, marital problems because the dad doesn't want magic stuff and is not really supportive of the mom or the kindergartner. We have this weird prophecy that people now think is based on them, and they're like very much ostracized for it. And I would not have minded, I don't think, the prophecy necessarily if it was still in the cozy setting, but because we have all these bigger adult issues, I hated it. I hated reading it because I wanted it to be one thing, which I felt like the back gave us. It was trying to make it sound more cozy fantasy. Like Vivian has to pick up a sacrificial dagger. She needs to keep Arya, her kindergartner, stocked with chew toys and play PTA politics with sirens and things like that. Like, it felt like it was going to be cutesy, cozy, yes, magical, maybe with the curse or prophecy thing, but we had so many other like real life issues, like financial problems, marital problems, like dad's working late because he doesn't want to deal with magic stuff, and I'm just like, none of it was fun. It was very depressing and sad, and like, I wished it was better. So yeah, I did not like this one. I do think there was a little bit of redeeming stuff near the end, which is why I gave it a 2.5 instead of like a 2 that I hated or anything like that. But I did not like this one. I am willing, again, to try other stuff by this author because I actually have one other one that's more of like a dark fantasy romance. But like this, for how cutesy the cover is and things like that, it was not cute. And so that's as much negativity as we are going to have for right now. Those were my DNFs and worst books of the year. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. If you want to see something happier, I did have best books in my last video, and subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye.